Hey there. Hello, hello. How are you doing, right? Let's see who is already up here. I see someone is in the chat, so hello to you, and hello to the second person who has just joined. How are you doing on your Saturday afternoon, maybe morning? No clue. Which time zones are you guys in? Of course, you might tell me. But yeah, I wanted to chat a little bit about free software licenses because one of our channel members has told me something like, I have no clue about software licenses. Like, I have heard of GPL, but I don't really know what that is. So I think it could be an interesting chat, right? Um, I can see some of you in chat, but nobody is really chatting anything. Let's give it a test here just to make sure that everything works. And some more clicks and clicks and clicks. And there and there. Okay, and I suppose Jeremy Denslinger. Okay, I need to increase my font or start wearing glasses or something. Actually, I can do glasses. I should wear glasses more often. Especially when reading stuff. Holy crap, you got it spot on. I got it spot on. You mean the surname? Ooh, be much better now. A bit dirty. Let's clean them up a little bit before we start reading. Let me switch to a next window. Okay, you were not supposed to see this, but never mind. Yeah, this is what you're supposed to see, actually. Kidoki, my last name, yeah. Okay. Good, thank you. I'm gonna clean my glasses before I start reading. I can read this text, is plenty big, but let's give some eyes a little bit of rest. Looks much cleaner than before. Now you can see both of my monitors in my glasses. Cool. Yeah, so how are you interested in free software licenses? To be honest, I don't know all of them, and I only know the, I guess, basics. So we're going to read all of this together. I'm gonna try to do it as as effective as possible, not to waste too much time. Let me see my camera. Why can't I pull my camera a little bit down? What's going on here? I have an issue with my camera position. For some reason, I cannot read. This OBS software is so buggy. Camera. Okay. Oh, nice. Nice. Now it goes down. I think this is okay position for something that we are going to do soon. Testing. Mic works, obviously. Yeah. So why is this browser switching so fast? I guess we can live with that. It's a little bit too fast. I wanted to scroll down just one row at a time. Roll. Wrap scrolling. Close tabs. How can I use auto scrolling? Use smooth scrolling. I don't need that. Use auto scrolling. How do I scroll slower? Oh, with my keys. Okay, I suppose I can do it with my keyboard. And later we can fix it. Yeah, okay. So a quick guide to GPL v3, which is the most important free software license out there, arguably. and various licenses and comments about all of them, right? So we are going to see the GPL version 3 and 2 and Lesser and Affero and Apache and Artistic and Clarified, Berkeley, Boost, Modified, Cecil, I don't know, Educational, EU Data Grid, Software License, Expat License, FreeBSD License. There is quite a lot of them, and let's go ahead and see how fast we can read. And comment, of course, because chat is the most important part of these streams. Okie dokie. I'm going to read from the top, so my image here shouldn't interfere too much, I think. Okay, after a year and a half of public consultation, thousands of comments, and 4 drafts, version 3 of the GNU General Public License was finally published in 2007, so that's how old it is. Let's see the foundations. Okay, nobody should be restricted by the software they use. This is a really important thing to say. There are 4 freedoms that everybody should have. Vladimir, hello to you as well. The freedom to use the software for any purpose, right? So this is a huge part of free software licenses, right? So you can absolutely use your free software however you like. However, there is no limits. The freedom to change the software to suit your needs, right? So of course, in order to change the software to suit your needs, you're going to need to get source code in order to do that. So yeah, if you are not satisfied with the software, you can reprogram it to however you like. The freedom to share the software with your friends and neighbors, right? So you can give it to others or gift it or copy it, right? It's not really restricted in any kind of way, right? No digital restrictions management or stuff like that. The freedom to share the changes that you make, right? So if you have made some changes to the software and you consider it worthy of redistributing to other people, then you are absolutely free to redistribute your altered version of the software. You know, it is now yours, right? You depending on which license it is and if it's GPL, and we're going to get to that. The GPL license does have some restrictions, but these restrictions are based on the fact that the way that you're going to share your changes have to stay under this license, right? So that the changes you make are not misused, right? When a program offers users all of these freedoms, we call it free software. Developers who write software can release it under the terms of GNU GPL. When they do, it will be free software and stay free software, no matter who changes or distributes the program. We call this copy left. The software is copyrighted, but instead of using those rights to restrict users like proprietary software does, we use them to ensure that every user has freedom, right? That's why it is copy left. We updated the GPL project, its copy left, from being undermined by legal or technological developments. The most recent version protects users from three recent threats: devoization, law prohibiting free software, discriminatory patent deals, right? Some companies have created various different kinds of devices that run GPL software and then rigged the hardware so they can change the software that is running, but you cannot. If a device can run arbitrary software, it is a general purpose computer, and its owner should control what it does. When a device thwarts you from doing that, we call it TiVoization. So what is this about? If any of you remember the device, I think it was mainly an American device, a USA device, TiVo, right? I'm not from USA, so I'm vaguely remembering this, but it was some kind of a set-top box that played, uh, stuff like Netflix today or something like that. Maybe it could record online TV or something like that. But as far as I remember, it was something regarding to watching TV and online shows, right? So what they did is that took GPL software, right? They put it into their device and then they locked down device so you cannot access the source code and you cannot see how the device works, right? I think or believe that TiVo actually used GPL version 2, and I wouldn't really say that they misused the GPL license. I think they did their part that was required by GPL version 2. But of course, the Free Software Foundation found a problem in the GPL version 2 license, and that is, the fact that they altered some parts and they didn't do good to the overall society. However, the fun part is Linux uses GPL version 2, and the reason why Linux uses GPL version 2 and not 3 is because 3 is too restrictive in terms of who can use it and for what, right? So Linux stays at GPL version 2 because the people or the companies or corporations behind Linux, they want Linux to be able to be used for proprietary usage, right? That's what GPL version 2 actually allows, but GPL version 3 does not, and that's why Linux will never switch to GPL version 3. Laws prohibiting free software. Legislation like Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the European Union Copyright Directive make it a crime to write or share software that can break DRM. These laws should not interfere with the rights the GPL grants you. So how they managed to avoid this problem, I actually don't know, but we are going to read it below. Discriminatory patent deals. Microsoft has recently, and by recently probably before 2007, started telling people that they will not sue free software users for patent infringement as long as you get the software from a vendor that is paying Microsoft for the privilege. Ultimately, Microsoft is trying to collect royalties for the use of free software, which interferes with users' freedom. No company should be able to do this. Okay, so this one is obviously important, and it is a part of GPL version 3. Version 3 also has a number of improvements to make the license easier for everyone to use and understand. But even with all these changes, GPL version 3 isn't a radical new license. Instead, it is an evolution of the previous version. Though a lot of text has changed, much of it simply clarifies what GPL version 2 said. With that in mind, let's review the major changes in GPL version 3 and talk about how they improved the license for users and developers, right? Neutralizing laws that prohibit free software but not forbidding DRM. You're probably familiar with the digital restrictions management. This is a funky way how Stallman is interpreting these three letters, right? So in original, DRM means digital rights management, but of course the the reality of things is that this fits a lot better to what this actually is. This is digital restrictions management because it actually doesn't give you any rights. It actually gives you only restrictions, right? If you are unfamiliar with DRM, I can give you a super easy example, right? You buy a game on Steam. and most, not all of them, but most games, or at least the AAA ones, are equipped with some kind of DRM, right? What this means is that when you install the game from Steam, you have bought it, you have installed it, you cannot really copy it to a different computer and run it there because it will not work. You have to run it with your own Steam account. That's digital restrictions management, right? Because that's what it does. It restricts you from copying it elsewhere, right? It's a kind of in a way it is anti-copy mechanism, but not in all scenarios, right? If you watch, I don't know, Netflix, all of the TV shows and movies on Netflix are DRM protected. So generally, you shouldn't be able to copy anything from Netflix onto your local hard drive. They make sure that you are unable to do that. They restrict you from copying their stuff. So this is what DRM does, right? Same things with Spotify and all of these services. DVDs also had the same issue, but the protection on DVDs was so weak that it is not very difficult to break it, right? With Blu-ray, I think it's a little bit more complex. You are probably also familiar with the laws that make it illegal to write your own tools to bypass these restrictions, like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the European Union Copyright Directive. Nobody should be able to stop you from writing any code that you want, and GPL version 3 protects this right for you. It is always possible to use GPL code to write software that implements DRM. However, if someone does that with code protected by GPL version 3, section 3 says that the system will not count as an effective technological protection measure. This means that if you break the DRM, you will be free to distribute your own software that does that, and you won't be threatened by the DMCA or similar laws. As usual, the GNU GPL does not restrict what people do in software. It just stops them from restricting others. Vladimir Mishev says, I heard that some Chinese HDMI splitters work great for copying DRM videos. Yeah, the fun part with HDMI is that one of my friends, literally 2 days ago, he sent me a photo of his computer monitor, and he only has one screen in his home. He doesn't have a TV, just this one monitor. And he hooked up his Nintendo Switch to his computer monitor, and he wants to watch YouTube on Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo Switch told him that he cannot watch YouTube on this monitor because this monitor doesn't support the DRM protocols that are required for watching YouTube on Nintendo Switch via HDMI, right? So that's about it. No YouTube for him because he doesn't have a proper monitor that can restrict him from copying. Protecting your right to tinker. TiVoization is a dangerous attempt to curtail users' freedom. The right to modify your software will become meaningless if none of your computers let you do it. GPL version 3 stops TiVoization by requiring the distributor to provide you with whatever information or data is necessary to install modified software on the device. This may be as simple as a set of instructions, or it may include special data such as cryptographic keys or information about how to bypass an integrity check in the hardware. It will depend on how the hardware was designed, but no matter what information you need, you must be able to get it. This requirement is limited in scope. Distributors are still allowed to use cryptographic keys for any purpose, and they'll only be required to disclose a key if you need it to modify GPL software on the device they gave you. The GNU project itself uses GNU-PG to prove the integrity of all the software on its FTP site, and measures like that are beneficial to users. GPL version 3 does not stop people from using cryptography. We wouldn't want it to. It only stops people from taking away the rights that the license provides you, whether through patent law, technology, or any other means. Stronger protection against patent threats. In the 17 years since GPL version 2 was published, the software patent landscape has changed considerably, and free software licenses have developed new strategies to address them. GPL version 3 reflects those changes as well. Whenever someone conveys software covered by GPL version 3 that they've written or modified, they must provide every recipient with any patent license necessary to exercise the rights that the GPL gives them. In addition to that, if any licensee tries to use a patent suit to stop another user from exercising those rights, their license will be terminated. What this means for users and developers is that they'll be able to work with GPL version 3 covered software without worrying that a desperate contributor will try to sue them for patent infringement later. With those changes, GPL version 3 affords its users more defenses against patent aggression than any other free software license. So this part is important, right? If you have heard of scenarios where people or companies tend to change the license from GPL to something else, I think, now don't hold me for my word, but I think things like MySQL maybe has changed the license recently, and that's what prompted MariaDB to happen. And there was another Redis database that has changed the license, right? Let me actually try to remember. Search. Did Redis database change its license? I'm just trying to remember. Yes, Redis changed this license. Initially, Redis was available under the HGPL, but it switched to a dual license model consisting of Redis source available license and server-side public license for newer versions, right? So I don't know these licenses, but I think they are like non-free licenses, right? And another project spawned from the Redis database, basically immediately after this has happened, because the license change is not retroactive, right? So all previous version of Redis and its modules can still be used under their original license. This is what prompted the fork, right? This is how the community of free software makes sure that our free software remains free, right? The greedy corporation simply realized that they really don't want to, us to be able to benefit from free software anymore. So they changed the license, but they cannot do it retroactively because GPL doesn't allow them to do that. And the further development went one way into a more restrictive licensing model, while in the other direction a fork happened, community triggered, right? So this is how people go two ways, right? Whether the original Redis people have managed to do better in their lives by changing the license to a more restrictive one, I have no clue, but I know for a fact that a forked version of their database now exists, and things are great. Clarifying the license compatibility. If you found some code and wanted to incorporate it into a GPL project, the GPL version 2 said that the license on the other code was not allowed to have any restrictions that were not already in GPL version 2. As long as that was the case, we said the license was GPL compatible. However, some licenses had requirements that weren't really restrictive because they were so easy to comply with. For example, some licenses say that they don't give you permission to use certain trademarks. That's not really an additional restriction. If that clause wasn't there, you still wouldn't have permission to use the trademark. We always said those licenses were compatible with GPL version 2. 2. Now GPL version 3 explicitly gives everyone permission to use the code that has requirements like this, right? New compatible licenses. In addition to clarifying the rules about licenses that are already GPL compatible, GPL version 3 is also newly compatible with a few other licenses. The Apache license version 2 is a prime example of this. Lots of great free software is available under this license, with strong communities surrounding it. We hope that this change in GPL version 3 will foster more cooperation and sharing within the free software community. The chart below helps illustrate some common compatibility relationships between different free software licenses. Okay, so one of the important scenarios, at least from my perspective recently, is the fact that you cannot really put ZFS ZFS software, you know, sorry, my brain damage. The ZFS file system, right? You cannot put ZFS file system into the same medium with Linux, right? You cannot distribute Linux with ZFS because ZFS is bundled with a free license called CDDL, while Linux is bundled with free license called GPL version 2. Both are free software licenses. However, these two are incompatible. Therefore, let's say Debian, you want to use Debian as your as your storage server, and basically you cannot use it as a storage server with the ZFS file system because it cannot be bundled with this file system, right? It is not allowed. So what Debian basically did is they ship you Debian without ZFS support, and then they provide you an automated package, which when you install it as a Debian package, it will automatically download the source code for all of these ZFS tools from the internet. So it is not packaged by Debian, it is not bundled by Debian. The only thing they bundle with Debian is an automated tool in the form of a package that automatically fetches the source code for ZFS, compiles it on the fly as a kernel module, and inserts it into your kernel live, and you're ready to go. You're ready to roll. You can use ZFS on your Debian, right? So this is an unfortunate workaround, but generally it works great. I have used it recently and it was a painless procedure. However, it would be lovely if Linux would actually allow ZFS to be bundled together, right? So that it is an out-of-the-box experience. Give me just a second. I must make my throat wet. Nice coffee. Vladimir says on Alt ZFS is pre-built kernel modules, just like NVIDIA. What is Alt? Explain Alt, please. You're coming to the fun part now. Charts. Okay. Strong copyleft licenses. GPL version 2 into GPL version 3. Compatible only with GPL version 3 are the green ones. Let me try to understand how this works. Permissive licenses, zlib license, expat license, modified BSD license, public domain, ISC license, X11 license. Okay, so the permissive licenses are those that, well, basically they permit you to do everything. Pretty much like a weak explanation, which basically is more or less correct. Strong copyleft is, well, it's a free software license, but not a permissive one, right? A weak copyleft license, so they consider this one to be a weak one, right? And compatible with GPL version 3, X386 1.1 license, Apache license version 2, and all of these permissive licenses, right? All of these are GPL version 3 compatible, right? Also, LGPL version 2.1 is compatible with GPL 3, and GPL version 2 is compatible with GPL version 3, of course. So basically, GPL version 3, what does this graph says, is compatible with everything on this picture. But you can notice that CDDL is not mentioned here, and I hope it will be mentioned down the line in this text. If not, then on the second tab on my web browser. Arrows pointing from one license to another indicate that the first license is compatible with the second. This is true even if you follow multiple arrows to get from one license to the other. So for example, the ISC license is compatible with GPL version 3. GPL version 2 is compatible with GPL version 3 if the program allows you to choose any later version of the GPL, which is the case for most software released under this license. This diagram is not comprehensive. See our licenses page for more complete list of licenses compatible with GPL version 2 and 3. License list. License list, yeah, that's what's next that we are reading. The GNU Affero GPL version 3 has also been brought into the fold. The original Affero GPL was designed to ensure that all users of a web application would be able to receive its source. The GNU Affero GPL version 3 broadens this goal. It is applicable to all network interactive software. So it will also work well for programs like game servers. The additional provision is also more flexible, so that if someone uses a GPL, the source in an application without a network interface, they will only have to provide source in the some sort of a way that the GPL has always required. By making these two licenses compatible, developers of network interactive software will be able to strengthen their copyleft while still building on top of the mature body of GPL code available to them. More ways for developers to provide source. One of the fundamental requirements for the GPL is that when you distribute object code to users, you must also provide them with a way to get the source code. GPL version 2 gave you a few ways to do it, and GPL version 3 keeps those intact with some clarification. It also offers you new ways to provide source when you convey object code over a network. For instance, when you host object code on a web or FTP server, you can simply provide instructions that tell visitors how to get the source code from a third-party server. Thanks to this new option, fulfilling this requirement should be easier for many small distributors who only make a few changes to large bodies of source. The new license also makes it much easier to convey object code via BitTorrent. First, people who are merely downloading or seeding the torrent are exempt from the license requirements for conveying the software. Then whoever starts the torrent can provide source by simply telling other torrent users where it is available on a public network server. Those new options keep the GPL in line with community standards for offering source without making it harder for users to get. Less source to distribute. New system libraries exception. Both versions of GPL require you to provide all the source necessary to build the software, including supporting libraries, compilation scripts, etc. They also draw the line at system libraries. You're not required to provide a source for certain core components of the operating system, such as the C library. GPL version 3 has adjusted the definition of system library to include software that may not come directly with the operating system, but that all users of the software can reasonably be expected to have. For example, it now also includes the standard libraries of common programming languages such as Python and Ruby. The new definition also makes it clear that you can combine GPL software with GPL incompatible system libraries such as Open Solaris C library and distribute them both together. Those changes will make life easier for free software distributors who want to provide these combinations to their users. A global license. GPL version 2 talks about distribution a lot. When you share the program with someone else, you are distributing it. The license never says what distribution is because the term was borrowed from United States copyright law. We expected that judges would look there for the definition. However, we later found out that copyright laws in other countries use the same word, but they give it different meanings. Because of this, a judge in such a country might analyze GPL version 2 differently than a judge in the United States. GPL version 3 uses a new term convey and provides a definition for that term. Convey has the same meaning we intended for distribute, but now that this is explained directly in the license, it should be easy for people everywhere to understand what we meant. There are other minor changes throughout the license that will also help ensure it is applied consistently worldwide. When the rules are broken, a smooth path to compliance. Under GPL version 2, if you violated the license in any way, your rights were automatically and permanently lost. The only way to get them back was to petition the copyright holder. While a strong defense against violation is valuable, this policy could cause a lot of headache when someone accidentally ran afoul of the rules. Asking all the copyright holders for a formal restoration of the license could be burdensome and costly. A typical GNU/Linux distribution draws upon the work of thousands. GPL version 3 offers a reprieve for good behavior. Matt Kelly, welcome in. Joined for the license talk, staying for the beard. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. GPL version 3 offers a reprieve for good behavior. If you violate the license, you'll get your rights back once you stop the violation, unless a copyright holder contacts you within 60 days. After you receive such a notice, you can have your rights fully restored if you're a first-time violator and correct the violation within 30 days. Otherwise, you can work out the issue on a case-by-case basis with the copyright holders who contacted you, and your rights will be restored afterward. Compliance with the GPL has always been the top priority of the Free Software Foundation Compliance Lab and other groups enforcing the license worldwide. These changes ensure that the compliance remains a top priority for enforcers and gives violators incentive to comply. Miroslav Krleža, welcome in and thank you very much for a very, very expensive coffee. Thank you very much. You actually gave me a coffee animation deployed by a chicken. My coffee is ready here right now. I'm gonna drink into your name. Hello, Iceblade. This stream is actually for you. Just let this enter the how do you say it when the court rules, right? Who is the one who is typing what everyone says? Miroslav says his cup is much better looking. Yeah, I bet. Matt Kelly says stenographer. Yeah, but what I actually meant, but I wrongly expressed myself. I meant, when somebody who is talking in the courtroom says, "Let this enter the what? Let this statement enter something, something. The destination where the text is being written. Records. Okay, records. Yeah." Sorry about that. I am not a native English speaker, and I only watch movies in English, right? Let the statement enter the record. Thank you very much, everyone. So yeah, let it be known for the record that this stream was provided to all of you by Iceblade92 by merely asking for such a content. The latest and greatest. We are almost at the end of the GPL version 3, and Iceblade can rewatch that part in roughly an hour. And then we are going to switch to other licenses. Some of these changes probably seem less important to you than others. That's okay. Every project is different and needs different things from its license, but odds are that a number of these improvements will help you and your work. And taken as a whole, all these upgrades represent something more. We made a better copyleft. It does more to protect users' freedom, but it also enables more cooperation in the free software community. But updating the license is only a part of the job. In order for people to get the benefits it offers, developers need to use GPL version 3 for their projects too. By releasing your own software under the new license, everyone who deals with it, users, other developers, distributors, even lawyers will benefit. We hope you'll use GPL version 3 for your next release. Vladimir Mishev says, looks like Ubuntu and Alpine also have pre-built ZFS in their default repos. Yeah, I know about Ubuntu, and there was a lot of talk about how they did it. And whether they are even allowed to do that. I don't know. Maybe we can dig it out a little bit later. How were they able to do that? Maybe they also do some kind of a workaround like Debian does, but simply don't tell you what is actually happening behind the scene during the installer. I'm just guessing. But yeah, I know for the fact that they are bundling things that they kind of shouldn't. So, onwards to more free software licenses. We classify a license according to certain key criteria. Whether it qualifies as a free software license, whether it is a copyleft license, whether it is compatible with the GNU GPL, unless otherwise specified, compatible licenses are compatible with both version 2 and 3. Whether it causes any particular practical problems. I guess we will find ZFS here. We try to list the most commonly encountered free software licenses on this page, but cannot list them all. We'll try our best to answer questions about free software licenses, whether or not they are listed here. The licenses are more or less in alphabetical order within each section. If you believe you have found a violation of one of our licenses, please refer to our license violation page. So that's where you can report problems or violators. Okay, this part is not important for today's stream. Let's skip it to the GPL compatible free software licenses. Okay. So what GPL compatible generally means is if you are a developer of a software and you choose a GPL version 3 for your software, but your software isn't entirely built by you, but you're also using some libraries, or maybe you are making a game with a finished game engine, or all this stuff. You're using someone else's code in order to build on top of that, and then you bundle it all together and distribute it as your product. But the license, if you are releasing under GPL version 3, what you are including in your project, right, must be compatible with GPL version 3. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble. This is the latest version of GNU GPL, as we have already read it on the previous tab. Vladimir Mishev says, quote from OpenZFS site, on Ubuntu, ZFS is included in the default Linux kernel packages. To install ZFS utilities, first make sure Universe is enabled. Universe is not a part of Ubuntu. Universe is like a user repository, as far as I know. Just like Arch user repository is not really a part of Arch Linux. So that might be the reasoning behind it. So it's not really in Ubuntu repository. But what I'm actually concerned about is when you download the, let's say, 24.04 installer, you don't really enable the Universe repository while you're installing Ubuntu, and yet you can install your root partition on ZFS literally during the installer. So what the installer does, I don't know. This is the previous version of GNU GPL, a free software license and a copyleft license. We recommend the latest version for most software. Please note that GPL version 2 is by itself not compatible with GPL version 3. However, most software released under GPL version 2 allows you to use the terms of a later version of GPL as well. When this is the case, you can use the code under GPL version 3 to make the desired combination. To learn more about compatibility, please read our FAQ. So what this says here is that while GPL version 2 is not compatible with GPL version 3, most people who release their software under GPL version 2, they usually add a small clause that says this software is licensed under GPL version 2 or later, right? So this is the compatibility part. GNU lesser GPL. Iceblade says don't pronounce fuck in that way. Well, is that not what it says? FAQ. Fuck. I'm just saying how it is written, right? The dog alarm started. Second. Family returned home. Harder A as in axe. Harder A. What is harder A as in axe? Back. Back. I really don't know how to pronounce that. I mean, in the way that you guys in chat are expecting me to. FAQ, yeah. I know what you're saying, but I don't know how is it supposed to sound. Like long A. Vladimir, I cannot read the uh, the Klingon code in your message. Like fact without the T sound. Back. Okay. Let's just pretend that we didn't talk about this. That sounds correct. Interesting. It still sounds odd to me. I know I was aware that I read it incorrectly in the first place, but the version that you believe sounds correct doesn't sound correct to me in my head. I'm gonna practice this word offline after the stream. Let's see what lesser general public license is. It sounds odd to native English speakers as well. Oh, okay. Okay. That explains a little bit. English is hard. MK. MK as in, who was it? Cartman who said that? In this way, in this manner? We are here. This is the latest version of LGPL, a free software license, but not a strong copyleft license. The teacher with Mr. Hat. Oh, that guy. I kind of forgot. I didn't watch that for 20 years. I'm gonna get lost in these definitions. Let me read it. I mean, you can type in chat. I'm just gonna read through this while you're talking in chat. No worries. This is the latest version of LGPL, a free software license, but not a strong copyleft license because it permits linking with the non-free modules. It is compatible with GPL version 3. We recommend it for special circumstances only. Special circumstances being what? Okay, this is a bit longer text. For libraries, huh? Okay, let's not read that. Let's not fork too deep beyond this text because it will be rather long that way. Maybe we can revisit the LGPL later on. Acronyms are pronounced like one word, but FAQ is an abbreviation and are pronounced one letter at the time. Okay. You should see how Croatian sounds. That would be interesting for you. Please note that LGPL version 3 is not compatible with GPL version 2 by itself. However, most software released under GPL version 2 allows you to use the terms of later versions of the GPL as well. When this is the case, you can use the code under GPL version 3 to make the desired combination. To learn more about compatibility between GNU licenses, please read our GNU LGPL version 2.1. This is the previous version of LGPL, a free software license. Yeah, I have heard you use abbreviation as single words often. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I can give you a silly example. For example, the word strong in English is read basically in the same way as we would read it in Croatian, right? Strong. This is, if you would give this word to Croatian guy and tell him to read it like it's a Croatian word, it would still sound strong. But in English, it says S T R O N G, strong. But in Croatian, it is S T R O N G, strong. Can you feel it? So in Croatian, the way we read just one letter, it is exactly the same way as we read it while reading the whole word. So it's pretty easy to read. We be rolling. For example, this one, Learn. You would say learn, but if I would read this as a Croatian word, this would be learn. Native English speakers can't pronounce BMW correctly. BMW. Well, we Croatians can't pronounce BMW either because we don't have the W letter in our alphabet. Jeremy Denslinger, I can pronounce Beamer just fine. Thank you very much. Makes sense, it's German. Interesting. Most people I would pronounce strong without the G sound at the end. Ah, interesting. Vladimir. I did not know that about German. Deutsch. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Nein. Nein, ich bin Kroatin. Thank you very much. Special delivery. I got MTV up. Thank you. 9. Yeah. W should have been a double V, in my humble opinion. English is hard and dumb sometimes. Iceblade says things about to go crazy. Yeah, Iceblade, did you notice that my streams often end up with language discussions? I guess the reasoning is because all of us communicate in one language, right? When we talk together, right? But most of us are from very different countries. How did you end up on German this time? Who is German in chat? Who is from Germany here in chat? I didn't really get it. Or did Vladimir simply make a joke about BMW without any BMWs from Germany? Yeah, but who from the actual chat? Who of the humans is from Germany? Bayerische Motorenwerke. Okay, so nobody's from Germany. Great. Great. Matt Kelly says, "Your English is good. I just like talking about language. I'm not. I'm German, but not from Germany. Oh, okay. You're German, but not from Germany. Uh, how does that work? You mean you were born elsewhere, and then you moved into Germany, and now you have German citizenship?" Jeremy says, "I have Germanic ancestry." Not sure that don't counts. Yeah, I know. Matt Kelly says, "Ethnically German, parent born in Germany, but I was born in Canada." Okay. Uh, so I suppose that you speak German somewhat, even if you haven't lived in Germany, right? Oh, we switched to IRT mode. Nice. It's a bit embarrassing because you don't speak any German, unfortunately. I would expect that the one from your family who was born in Germany would teach you some of it, right? If not, if not to teach you fluently, but at least partially. Okay. Where were we? This is the previous version. The thing about my English is that I lack a lot of practice with talking to actual people, actual English people. I never talk to English people. I mean live in real life, because what this deprives me of is it deprives me of learning new expressions and new words, right? So whatever you believe about my English being good is the fact that I have been doing YouTube for the past year, and I have been reading a lot aloud, right? A lot of English texts aloud, and this is simply practice in the way how I read, right? It's I can gather my thoughts half in Croatian, half in English. So sometimes I get stuck with some words that I only know um, in Croatian, and I know them in English as well, but it takes a second until it comes back from swap memory into my actual brain RAM. The English terms of for some stuff, right? The same problem that I had with the courtroom like 15 minutes ago. That's one of the examples where I get stuck with stuff that I generally should know, but I kind of forgot. But I am unable to broaden or expand my English vocabulary simply because of the fact that I don't talk to people who use English actively in their daily lives. And what I would like is to have, how they used to say, like having a pen pal, but in my case, I would like to have a own pal of sorts, right? So that way I could hear some new ways to, speak. because my vocabulary is in a small box. And the way I talk is basically I shuffle between the existing words that I have in my vocabulary. It's not that big, right? Vladimir says, I also can't speak any Bulgarian. My father was born in Sofia, moved with his mom here in Serbia as a kid, but I do understand it very well. Okay. Iceblood says, swap memory in long-term memory until move to short-term memory. Yeah, correct. Anyways, the topic of this stream. Um, how many times did I read this sentence? This is the previous version of lesser GPL, a free software license, but not a strong copyleft license because it permits linking with non-free modules. We have read the entire paragraph actually. This is a free software copyleft license. Its terms effectively consist of the terms of GPL version 3 with an additional paragraph in section 13 to allow users who interact with the licensed software over a network to receive the source for that program. I don't think we need to stop here for a long time. It's relatively self-explanatory. So a GPL is basically GPL, but with additional networking component, right? GNU All Permissive License. This is a LUX, permissive free software license compatible with the GNU GPL, which we recommend the GNU packages use for README and other small supporting files. All developers can feel free to use it in similar situations. I have no clue what the word luck means. Okay. I honestly don't remember using this word before, but it is a good way to broaden your vocabulary. So lax means lacking in rigor, strictness. Okay. I suppose I can find ways to use it. Older versions of this license did not have the second sentence with the express warranty disclaimer. This same analysis applies to both versions. Okay, so a very important license now. Okay, Matt Kelly with the 2 I have to run. Thanks for the chat and cheers. Thank you very much for 2 Canadian. And I'm gonna see you if you are not already gone in the well, maybe we can see each other tomorrow. Tomorrow we are continuing our path on learning for the LPIC 1 exam. We are learning the guts of Linux together. There is usually roughly 15 of us, and we are going through various Linux guts lessons, right? So join us tomorrow roughly at 1 hour from now. Yeah. So in 25 hours from now. This is Apache license, right? This is a free software license compatible with version 3 of the GNU GPL. Will do. Okay, see you then. I'm going to publish an announcement on my YouTube page when the stream starts exactly, and I'm going to do that after this stream. Uh, for all of you who want to click on the please remind me when it starts. Please note that this license is not compatible with the GPL version 2 because it has some requirements that are not in that GPL version. These include certain patent termination and indemnification provisions. The patent termination provision is a good thing, which is why we recommend the Apache 2.0 license for substantial programs over the other lax permissive licenses. Artistic License version 2. This license is a free software license compatible with GPL thanks to the relicensing option in section 4. They didn't say what the license is about. Clarified artistic license. This license is a free software license compatible with the GPL. It is the minimal set of changes needed to correct the vagueness of the artistic license version 1. Berkeley database license, also called as the Sleepy Cat software product license. This is a free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. Vladimir is asking, isn't that racist to Apache Nation? Let me just see. What was it that I said? I am aware that you're trying a joke. I'm just trying to find where the joke is. I have no clue. Okie dokie. Boost software license. This is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. Modified BSD license. This is the original BSD license modified by removal of the advertising clause. It is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. This license is sometimes referred to as the three-clause BSD license. The modified BSD license is not bad as lax permissive licenses go, though the Apache 2.0 license is preferable. However, it is risky to recommend use of the BSD license, even for special cases such as small programs, because confusion could easily occur and lead to use of the flawed original BSD license. To avoid this risk, you can suggest the X11 license instead. The X11 license and the modified BSD license are more or less equivalent. Jeremy Denslinger says there is no joke. People truly think things like this are offensive, even though the remainder of the Apache Nation has had literal decades to complain and yet have not. Oh, you mean the fact that something is called Apache? So the existence of this vehicle is also supposed to be offensive, right? No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to understand. It's just people being people, right? Nobody cares about getting offended except for the firewall people. I call them firewall people. You know, the people who believe that someone could be offended and then they attempt to punish the offender in the name of the possibly offended person, which just happens to be a person who really doesn't give a shit. Ahmed Nasser Hi, Linux Renaissance. Greetings from Egypt. Greetings to you as well, Ahmed. Vladimir says, oh, how I hated Berkeley DB. It gave me so much trouble back in my early FreeBSD days, more than 20 years ago. Okay, I'm just joking with the accent. Yeah, so guys and girls, this is a live stream in which we learn about both the free software licenses and Apache attack helicopters, because those things are clearly related. I have actually always used MySQL database for all of my little database needs, simply because when I was younger, everyone was using the LAMP stack. You know, the LAMP stack. What is that about? Who knows what LAMP stack is? It starts with Linux. LAMP stack, anyone? Another Apache incoming. Third one today. I mean, I know what it is, but I just want you to see. Linux for the operating system, Apache HTTP server, MySQL for the relational database management system, Perl, PHP or Python for the programming language. Usually it was only PHP. I didn't really know that Perl or Python would be included as well. So yeah, you need Apache and MySQL, or now it is Maria database, but it is still a LAMP stack, right? A lot of people have been making dynamic web pages with the LAMP stack, and LAMP ending up with PHP. This is where I came into my contact with MySQL for the first time. And since MariaDB is basically the same thing, now I use that one. But I could also use sorry, my brain got stuck again. What is the small file-based database called? Who followed me on Twitch? Somebody followed me on Twitch. I'm not even live streaming there. I got a notification which I have enabled for Twitch, but I forgot. Oh, Ahmed, sorry. Ahmed followed. Yeah, I can see it now. I can see it. I can see it here on my email. Thanks a lot for the follow on Twitch. I will probably dual stream on Twitch and YouTube as well. I just need to set up my dual streaming software. You have used Postgres a total of 6 to 7 hours. Oh, okay. Anyways, Cecil version 2. Cecil version 2 is a free software license explicitly compatible with GNU GPL. The text of the... How do you actually pronounce this? I would, as a Croatian, I would just say Cecil, because that's what it says, Cecil. So I suppose this should be pronounced as Cecil. I don't care. It's Cecil. This is Cecil for me. Hello. Yes. Iskopčaj HDMI kabel iz moga servera i ukopčaj ga u Xbox. Vidi ovo tu. Ljudi me čuju. Osim možda Vladimira koji ovoga ima. Nije ispod. Na sredini. Kroz na sredini njega je. Ni debeli. Možeš probati. Možeš se pokazati on kamera ako želiš. Ok, dobro. Bye. Chat waves back to my daughter. Yeah, she wants to play Fortnite, but I have unplugged her console because I needed HDMI cable to plug it into my server, on which I was installing virtual machines today because I was making a new video for Monday. It is already recorded, but what I did is I was configuring my server remotely. I mean, remotely as in from this room to that room. That's remote access, right? And I was setting up a networking bridge, and I managed to cut myself off from the server, and I wasn't able to connect to the server anymore. So I took the HDMI cable from her console and plugged it into my server so I can fix my networking on the server, right? And I used a living room TV for that because the server itself is in the living room. You know, that's how it is when you live with geeks. I have servers all over the house. Iceblade SSH, yeah. Yeah, you're correct, Jeremy, but you know, sometimes it might sound funny when you say remote to something that is almost at the reach of your hand, right? Not exactly. It has like 10 meters from here to where the server is. But yeah, we understand each other, yeah. I was a bit careless when I was doing it, and I cut myself off. And I borrowed the HDMI, and I forgot to put it back. Let's skip Tetzel. The Clear BSD license. This is a free software license compatible both with GPL version 2 and 3. It is based on the modified BSD license and adds the term expressly stating it does not grant you any patent license. Because of this, we encourage you to be careful about using software under this license. You should first consider whether the licensor might want to sue you for patent infringement. Interesting. Inferno 224. Greetings, fellow Linux dude. Greetings back, Inferno 224. How are you? And welcome in. Cryptic's general license. This is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. It is nearly identical to the FreeBSD license, also called two-clause BSD. Ahmed Nasser says or asks, what does GPL compatibility means? Ahmed, well, the entire stream is about understanding what are different free software licenses, and generally, I'm going to simplify it as I did like half an hour ago. You are a software developer, Ahmed, and you are making a program, but your program is not entirely written from scratch, but instead it relies on some other program or some other code that you have downloaded from the internet, and you're building on top of this code, right? So that you don't need to write everything from scratch. You're just maybe modifying something or building on top. But this code is also licensed, not just your program, which you're licensing as GPL version 3 license. But this program also is licensed. So in order for your new program that you're going to distribute, so the someone else's code plus your code, this license here must be compatible with your license, which is in this case GPL version 3, right? If this license is not compatible with your license, then you cannot use the code from this other person. There are other cases, but I'm just trying to simplify it for the understanding what does compatibility of the licenses entails. Inferno says, thank you, man. Just got into Linux myself. Really like it. Welcome to our lovely community. Every Sunday evening, in roughly 24 and a half hours, we are doing a live stream classroom, interactive classroom, where we learn about the guts of Linux on this channel. So if you're interested in learning about the Linux guts, and mind you, it's a little bit technical, but relatively easy to digest content. And if you don't believe me that it is easy, you can ask our friends in chat. For example, Iceblade92, he is one of the most hard working students on my live streams, right? So he can tell you how these lessons go every Sunday. So if you want to join and learn deeper about the Linux guts, you're welcome to join. You can see the thumbnail on my channel. It's called LPIC, a white thumbnail that says what I just typed in chat. Jeremy says, funny as it is, I have yet to use any role at home networking services other than on-host firewalls. I started my IT career in an ISP. I am lost what the topic is. Oh, the PFSense and OpenSense, right? That's the topic. Stuff disappears, dead must have borrowed it. Yeah, correct, Iceblade. I'm actually planning to do OpenSense videos very soon about firewalls at home. Okie dokie, Cryptic's general license. This is a Lux permissive non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. It is nearly identical to FreeBSD. ECOS. Ahmed says, so I guess they have criteria for GPL compatible license to protect the code from being stolen or becoming proprietary. Yeah, exactly that. Look here. This is a little bit of a graph, right? So all of these licenses are compatible with the GPL version 3, right? So these guys here are free and permissive licenses, right? These licenses are so free that you can basically do almost anything you want with these programs. And then you have some others here like Apache, X386, and the older versions of GPL, and all of them are compatible with GPL version 3, right? And this is not a complete graph. There are more on this page here, right? Let me just copy paste it for you. So this is what I pasted in chat is a list of not just GPL compatible licenses, but also incompatible ones that we are going to get to very soon, and that part will be interesting. ECOS license version 2 is a GPL compatible free software license. It consists of the GPL plus an exception while allowing linking to software not under the GPL. This license has the same disadvantages as the LGPL. Okay, interesting. Educational Community License, ECL. This is a free software license and it is compatible with GPL version 3. It is based on the Apache 2. The scope of the patent license has changed so that when an organization's employee works on a project, the organization does not have to license all of its patents to recipients. This patent license and the indemnification clause in Section 9 make this license incompatible with GPL version 2. Eiffel Forum license is compatible. Don't know what that is. EU Data Grid software license. They don't say what that is. Expat license. Okay, this one is rather popular one. This is a lax permissive non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. Some people call this license the MIT license, but that term is misleading since MIT has used many licenses for software. It is also ambiguous since the same people also call the X11 license the MIT license, failing to distinguish them. We recommend not using the term MIT license, because if you do, then people will not know whether you are referring to X11 license or the expat license or any of the other MIT licenses, which apparently there are multiple of them. The difference between the X11 license and the expat license is that the X11 license contains an extra paragraph about using the X consortium's name. It is not a big deal, but it is a real difference. For substantial programs, it is better to use the Apache 2.0 license since it blocks patents treachery. Okay, it took me a while to compile this. The free BSD license. This is the original BSD license with the advertising clause and another clause removed. It is also sometimes called two-clause BSD license. It is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. Our comments about modified one apply to this one as well. Free type project license. This is a free software license and compatible with GPL 3. Historical permission notice and disclaimer. Okay. License of the iMatrix. Oh, I almost read it as iMatrix. Standard function library. This is compatible with GPL. License of imlib 2. The author has explained to us that the GPL's options for providing source all mean that source has been made available publicly in their words. FreeBSD best license ever? Which one, Vladimir? Which one? Which FreeBSD license? Independent JPEG group license. This is a free software license and compatible with GPL. The authors have assured us that developers who document changes are required by the GPL will also comply with a similar requirement in this license. Informal license. An informal license means a statement such as do whatever you like with this, or you can distribute this code and change it. In the United States, these licenses are supposed to be interpreted as based on what the author seems to intend, so they probably mean what they appear to mean. That would make them the non-copyleft free software licenses and compatible with the GPL. However, an unlucky choice of wording could give it a different meaning. However, many other countries have a more rigid approach to copyright licenses. There is no telling what courts in those countries might decide an informal statement means. Courts might even decide that this is not a license at all. If you want your code to be free, don't invite gracious trouble for your users. Please choose and apply an established free software license. We offer recommendations we suggest to follow. The to clause. The most often I see zero clause BSD license to be floating around. I'm just saying that's the most common one I meet. Intel open source license. This is a free software license compatible with GPL. ISC license. This license is sometimes also known as OpenBSD license. It is a free software license and compatible with the GNU GPL. This license has an unfortunate wording choice. It provided recipients with permission to use, copy, modify, and distribute this software. This was the same language from the license of Pine that the University of Washington later claimed prohibited people from distributing modified versions of the software. ISC has told us they do not share the University of Washington's interpretation, and we have every reason to believe them. ISC also updated the license to read permission to use, copy, modify, and or distribute this software. While the inclusion of and or doesn't completely solve the issue, there is no reason to avoid software released under this license. However, to help make sure this language cannot cause any trouble in the future, we encourage developers to choose a different license for their own works. The FreeBSD license is similarly permissive and brief. However, if you want a lax, weak license, we recommend using the Apache license. Oh my god, a long text. The very important Mozilla public license. This is a free software license. Section 3.3 provides indirect compatibility between. Let me just make a short capture of the timeline. There we go. This is a free software license. Section 3.3 provides indirect compatibility between this license and the GNU GPL version 2, GNU LGPL version 2.1, GNU AGPL version 3, and all later versions of those licenses. When you receive work under MPL version 2.0, you may make a larger work that combines that work with work under those GNU licenses. When you do, Section 3.3 gives you permission to distribute the MPL covered work under the terms of the same GNU licenses, with one condition. You must make sure that the files that were originally under the MPL are still available under the MPL's terms as well. In other words, when you make a combination in this way, the files that were originally under the MPL will be dual licensed under the MPL and the GNU licenses. The end result is that the larger work as a whole will be covered under the GNU licenses, so people who receive that combination from you will have the option to use any files that were originally covered by the MPL under that license terms. or distribute the larger work in whole or in part under the GNU licenses terms with no further restrictions. It is important to understand that the condition to distribute files under the MPL's work terms only applies to the party that first creates and distributes the larger work. If it applied to their recipients as well, it would be a further restriction and incompatible with GPL and AGPL. That being said, when you make contributions to an existing project, we usually recommend that you keep your changes under the same license, even when you're not required to do so. If you require a work under a GNU license where some files are also under the MPL, you should only remove the MPL from those files when there is a strong reason to justify it. Check the license notices on the MPL covered software before you make a larger work this way. Parties who release original work under MPL 2.0 may choose to opt out of this compatibility by including a sentence in the license notices that says that the work is incompatible with secondary licenses. Any software that includes this notice is not compatible with GPL or AGPL. Software under previous versions of MPL can be upgraded to version 2.0, but any software that isn't already available under one of the listed GNU licenses must be marked as incompatible with secondary licenses. This means that software that is only available under previous versions of the MPL is still incompatible with GPL and AGPL. It was a long one, wasn't it? So basically what this entire text says is you can combine it with GPL, but you have to be careful about the underlying text and how you're combining it and what you're changing it, etc. A wall of text, you would say. Yeah. Ahmed, this is not Mozilla public license. This is just this is just a little bit of the explanation about how it combines with the GPL, right? This is the Mozilla public license. Voila. I thought that you understood, but just in case, I wanted to flash an actual license in front of everyone. Vladimir says, Vladimir confirms that it, in fact, is a wall. NCSA license. University of Illinois, open source license. Brave browser is MPL licensed, by the way. Interesting. Interesting, thank you. This license is based on the terms of the expat and modified based BSD license. It is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license compatible with GPL. License of Netscape JavaScript. Okay. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit over these not so big ones, right? Because all of these licenses are in fact GPL compatible, right? Or at least GPL version 3. So we have open LDAP license, license of Perl 5, public domain. Okay, this one is interesting. Being in the public domain is not a license. Rather, it means the material is not copyrighted and no license is needed. Practically speaking, though, if a work is in the public domain, it might as well have an all permissive non copyleft free software license. Public domain material is compatible with GNU GPL. If you want to release your work to the public domain, we encourage you to use formal tools to do so. Our solution is to ask people who make small contributions to GNU to sign a disclaimer form. If you are working on a project that doesn't have formal contribution policies, contact the project to discuss how best to contribute within the project's licensing model. So I believe the problem with why the Free Software Foundation considered this a problem, right? So this is a no license scenario, right? You make something and then you tell everyone that do whatever they want with your software. This is public domain, right? The problem with this is that in some countries, public domain is actually forbidden. I shit you not. So in these countries, your software must have a license. So you can use the actual license, which is as close as possible to public domain. For example, zero clause BSD or similar one. So you can do that, to license your software in a way that it is applicable to everyone in every country and no trouble arises, right? License of Python, license of Python, license of Ruby, SGI, license, Unicode, Universal Permissive License. This is a lax permissive non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. The license does provide the ability to license patents along with the software work. However, we still recommend, okay, we keep getting back to the Apache license. I suppose we are going to have to read it. Vladimir, Brave AI is either mistaken or you have asked the question to the AI in a wrong way. But give me a second, we will get to that. By forbidden, I didn't mean that you will get arrested for using it. I meant that if you use a public domain program and then you get yourself in other type of trouble by using this program or converting it to something else, then you will not be able to prove in some countries that this is a public domain software because some countries don't recognize public domain as a thing, right? I think Iceblade is more or less spot on with what he says. Try asking the AI in a different way. You will not get in trouble for just using it. It's a matter of proving that you are able to use it as you will in the court of law. In the USA, it's fine, but not in every other country. Universal Universal Permissive License. This is a lax permissive non-copyleft-free software license compatible with the GPL. The license does provide the ability to license patents. Did I already read this one? I think I did. The unlicense. The unlicense is a public domain dedication. A work released under the unlicense is dedicated to the public domain to the fullest extent permitted by law, and also comes with an additional lax license that helps cover any cases where the dedication is inadequate. Both public domain works and the lax license provided by the unlicensed are compatible with GPL. License of WIM. This is a free software license, partially copyleft, but not really. It's not really. What a language. It is compatible with GPL, but an explicit conversion by an explicit conversion clause. Okay. W3C software notice and license. Okay, license of WebM covered by the modified BSD license. What the fuck, PL version 2. This is a lax permissive non-copyleft free software license compatible. We do not recommend this even before we tell you what it is. Okay. WX widgets library. Another one. Okay, X11 license. This is a lax permissive non-copyleft free software license compatible with the GNU GPL. Older versions of X386 use the same license, and some of the current variants of X386 also do. Later versions of X386 are distributed under the X386 1.1 license. Some people call this license the MIT license, but that term is misleading, as we have already discussed it above. Ahmed says, of course, they don't recommend a license called WTF. Yes. Okay, now the fun part begins. GPL incompatible free software licenses. So, the free software license, but cannot be combined with the GPL. Affero General Public License version 1. So, the Affero GPL is not compatible with GPL, but the new version, right? Well, they made a mistake. Later, they realized it and they fixed it. Okay. Academic license, Apache license, the old one, Apache license, the very old one, Apple Public Source License, version 2. This is a free software license incompatible with GPL. We recommend that you do not use this license for new software that you write, but it is okay to use and improve the software released under this license. BitTorrent license, original BSD license. This one also is not good. This license is also sometimes called the 4-clause BSD license. This is a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license with a serious flaw: the obnoxious BSD advertising clause. The flaw is not fatal, that is, it does not render the software non-free, but it does cause practical problems, including incompatibility with the GPL. We urge you not to use the original BSD license for software you write. If you want to use a lax, permissive, non-copyleft free software license, it is much better to use the modified BSD license, the X11 license or the expat license. Even better, use Apache license. Cecil B, incompatible. Cecil C, incompatible. And now the most fun one. Talking about the WIM, Ed, original, not GNU, has Plan 9 MIT license. The Free Software Foundation claims that this is incorrect and it shouldn't be called that way. Common Development and Distribution License, CDDL. This is a free, let me just check. I was just wondering how many of these, let's say, the DL licenses exist, just one or more of them. Okay, so there is CDDL 1 and CDDL 1.1. ZFS, which license? Just find it here. Large parts of Solaris, including ZFS, were published under an open source license. Okay. License. Okay, Solaris was originally developed as proprietary software, but Sun Microsystems was an early commercial proponent of open source software, and in June 2005 released most of the Solaris codebase under the CDDL license and founded the Open Solaris. Well, this is also interesting. Open source project. In Solaris 10, Sun added the zettabyte file system and frequently updated ZFS with new features during the 5 years. ZFS was ported everywhere. Continued as Mac ZFS and FreeBSD under this open source license. So this one. I was just trying to understand, does ZFS use CDDL 1.0 or 1.1? And apparently it is 1.0, although it doesn't explicitly say so here. Okay, so the AI thinks that it is version 1, which just confirms. Ahmed says this is why ZFS is out of 3. Yeah. Let's go back to the explanation. Why is it not compatible with GPL? So CDDL version 1.0, the one that is for the ZFS project, this is a free software license. It has a weak per file copyleft like version 1 of the Mozilla public license, which makes it incompatible with the GNU GPL. This means a module covered by the GPL and the module covered by the CDDL cannot legally be linked together. We urge you not to use the CDDL for this reason. For an illustrative example why you should not combine CDDL licensed works with the GPL licensed works, see the Free Software Foundation's statement interpreting, enforcing, and changing the GNU GPL as applied to combining Linux and ZFS. Okay, I am actually very interested in this text, so we are going to read it now. Also unfortunate in CDDL is its use of the term intellectual property. Let's see, before we skip to the text, what else do we have that is not compatible with GPL and it sounds interesting? Eclipse European Union Public License. The hell? I thought that this is compatible with GPL. This is a free software license by itself. It has a copyleft comparable to GPL, and it is incompatible with it. However, it gives recipients ways to re-license the work under the terms of other selected licenses. And some of those, the ecliptic public license and the common public license in particular, only provide a weaker copyleft. Thus, developers can't rely on this license to provide a strong copyleft. So that is the problem. The EUPL allows relicensing to GPL version 2 because that is listed as one of the alternative licenses that users may convert to. It also indirectly allows relicensing to GPL 3 because there is a way to relicense the Tetsil version 2, and the Tetsil version 2 gives a way to relicense to any version of GNU GPL. Okay. European Union Public License version 1.2. This is a free software license. By itself, it has a copyleft comparable to GPL's, and it is incompatible with it as well. However, it gives recipients way to... What is the difference between the EU previous and this one? This text seems exactly the same. EUPL license. Let me see how many versions do they have. Latest version 1.2. Okay, so they don't have anything that is actually compatible with the GPL. Or is it? Now I'm confused. So the wiki says, let me, not let me, but help me interpret this. So the wiki for European Union Public License says, sorry for moving, EUPL, why is it moving? I cannot mark it when it's so close to the top. EUPL is the first open source license to be released by an international governing body. A goal of this license is to create an open source license available into 23 official languages of the European Union, and that is sure to conform to the existing copyright laws of the member states of the European Union. The license was developed with other open source licenses in mind and specifically authorizes covered works to be released under the following licenses when combined with their covered code in larger works. Okay, so if you're making a software as EUPL, then you are making sure that this license of your product is perfectly compatible with all of the European Union laws. Just as well, the GNU GPL version 2 was a lot more focused on the USA, but GNU GPL version 3 has broadened this license to encompass a lot more of the world, right? So basically, GPL version 3 is rather safe to use outside of the USA. But it isn't officially translated to all of the languages that EUPL is using. And additional problem with EUPL, not a problem for the user, but a problem for the program maybe, is what the FSF says, that just the fact that if you make a program under EUPL, whoever takes your program and builds on top of it, those people will not be restricted from converting your work into GPL or OSL or CPL or whichever one of these licenses, right? So because you're not restricted from converting to these licenses, then Free Software Foundation says that this license sucks because it gives you too much freedom and you should be restricted more because this is good for the whole community in terms of that whoever takes your work and modifies it, they will be forced to keep the GPL license so that everyone can benefit uh, after they have been after they modified your code, right? Everyone can benefit from this modified code because if you license it with the European Union license, then you can take this code and relicense it as something of this and maybe relicense again from some of this to even more permissive license and then make it closed source and etc. Right? So this is like too much freedom. However weird this sounds. Fraunhofer license, GNU Plot license, IBM license, Jabber license, Latex license, all of them free licenses that are... Oh, Lucent Public License version 1. Funny number. The Plan 9 license. This is a free software license, but it is incompatible with GPL because it's choice of law clause. We recommend that you do not use this license for new software you write, but it is okay to use and improve Plan 9 under this license. Microsoft Public License. It has a copyleft that is not strong, but incompatible with GPL. We urge you not to use Microsoft's stuff. Old Mozilla Public License, not compatible. Netizen, Netscape, Nokia open source license, similar to Mozilla. OpenLDAP, OpenSSL license. A recent version of OpenSSL from version 3 are released under the Apache license. Only older version of OpenSSL use this one. Okay. A forum license, PHP license, license for Python, Q license. Is this like from Star Wars? Sorry, I meant Star Trek. Real Networks public source license. Sun license. License of Xnet Daemon. Yahoo license. Zen license. Zimbra license. Non-free software licenses. The following licenses do not qualify as free software licenses. A non-free license is automatically incompatible with GPL. Same difference, different galaxies. Yeah, exactly. The no license. If source code does not carry a license to give users the 4 essential freedoms, then unless it has been explicitly and validly placed in the public domain, it is not free software. This is very interesting. Some developers think that the code with no license is automatically in the public domain. This is not true under today's copyright law. Rather, all copyrightable works are copyrighted by default. This includes programs absent a license to grant users freedom. They don't have any. In some countries, users that download code with no license may infringe copyright merely by compiling it or running it. It may be that I have thought of this one previously. but I'm not sure. But there are these weird nuances, right? When you think that you have every right, but in fact, you do not. Aladdin free public license. Anti-capitalist software license. I never heard of this. The anti-capitalist software license is a non-free license because it extends the four freedoms only to some kinds of organizations, not to all. Such a restriction in a software license in the name of any cause whatsoever imposes too much power over users. Please do not use this license, and we urge you to avoid any software that has been released under anti-capitalist software license. Code project. Commons clause. The Commons clause is a non-free license because it forbids selling copies of the program and even running the program as part of implementing any commercial service. Adding insult to the injury, it also twists the word commons and sell. We urge people to reject it. The Hippocratic license. It restricts what jobs user can use the software for. That denies freedom zero. GPL for computer programs of the public administration. Licenza Pubblica General para Administratio Publica. I have probably read it wrong, but it is what it is. My voice is at the end of today's stream, as you can hear. Activismo Enhanced Source Software License Agreement. The JSON license. License of LH. The LHA license must be considered non-free because it is so vague that you cannot be sure what permissions you have. Okay, funny shit. Llama 3.1 Community License Agreement and Llama 3.1 Acceptable Use Policy. This is not a free software license. It denies freedom zero. It imposes an acceptable use policy that prohibits a series of 25 odd uses. Some of the uses listed. This is the Meta company, the Facebook company. This is their large language model that is open source. They use the Llama license. We should make a counter to JSON named Freddy. Iceblade says so many licenses I did not even know existed. Fun thing, Iceblade. This page seems long, but these are not all of the licenses. There are more of the licenses that aren't even on this page. Microsoft Share Source NASA Open Source Agreement. NASA Open Source Agreement version 1.3 is not a free software license because it includes a provision requiring changes to be your original creation. Free software development depends on combining code from third parties, and the NASA license doesn't permit this. We urge you not to use this license. In addition, if you are a United States citizen, please write to NASA and call for the use of a truly free software license. Oculus Rift SDK license. One cannot redistribute anything less than the whole program. Okay, open public license. Jeremy says, I remember a time when every program came with a modified version of the company's own license, and every program was available on the a floppy disk. I have some floppy disk here, but not currently on my desk. Personal public license, license of Pine. Old Plan 9 license. Reciprocal public license. Scratch license. Simple machine. Old Squeak license. Sun Community license. TrueCrypt license. Yoast license. Licenses for documentation. GNU Free Documentation License. This is license intended for use on copylefted free documentation. We plan to adopt it for all GNU manuals. It is also suitable for other kinds of useful works, such as textbooks and dictionaries, for instance. Its applicably is not limited to textual workbooks. Okay. FreeBSD documentation license, similar. Non-free licenses for other works. Oh, Creative Commons. This is a non-copyleft free license that is good for art and entertainment works. So basically, all of my videos are licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license, which means that basically, well, let's read it, right? Creative Commons publishes many licenses which are very different. Therefore, to say that a work uses a Creative Commons license is to leave the principal question about the work's licenses unanswered. When you see such a statement in a work, please ask the author to change the work to state clearly and visibly which of the Creative Commons license it uses. And if someone proposes to use a Creative Commons license for certain work, it is vital to ask which before proceeding any further. So, if you go to my to one of my videos, right? Sorry about that. Is this page in creation? Yeah, it is. A little bit of a shame. So the license says it is in creation. So this is a little bit unfortunate.
Freedom Zero.
Sorry for this guy talking again. I'm trying to get it in English somehow. Change the interface language to the English. Mute. Okay, the license is attribution. This is, once again, this is vague, but basically, CC BY. This license enables users to distribute, remix, adapt, and build upon the material in any medium or format as long as attribution is given to the creator. The license allows for commercial use. CC BY includes the following elements. Credit must be given to the creator. So all of my videos are licensed by this license, right? You can do whatever the hell you want with my videos, but you must tell everyone that it is my video. So there are more of these CC licenses, right? The second one, credit must be given to the creator and adaptations must be shared under the same terms. So this is the second version of this license, a little bit more restrictive. This one is only for non-commercial uses of the videos, right? And the last, this one, only for non-commercial, and adaptations must be shared under the same terms. No derivatives or adaptations of the work are permitted. So this is when you want your work not to be changed. Okay. And also non-commercial, and a couple of these combinations, right? Jeremy says, I, with software licenses, were so well organized and laid out as the CCs are. Wish. Yeah, I was wondering which word is missing, right? So yeah, we don't have to read this, but generally you can just read it on the CC web page. Jeremy says, not wearing my glasses, didn't realize the typo. Okie dokie. License for fonts, license for works, opinion or testimony, GNU verbatim copying license. This was the license used throughout the GNU website for many years. It is very simple and especially well suited for written works. Design of physical objects. 3D printer. Interesting. Okay, let's go to the zettabyte file system. This is what I really want to read. Let me see. Okay, so my picture, my camera is not interfering with the text. This is good. Moment. I'm actually very hungry. How long is this? Holy shit. Let's run Brave. On this web page, and let's call Leo. Summarize this page. Let's read the summary and then proceed to the actual reading. This web page, interpreting the GNU GPL in the contents of combining Linux and ZFS, discusses copyleft, augmented versions, and distribution of GPL covered works. It explains that augmented version require permission under the original program's copyright, and copyleft licenses like the GPL require augmented versions to be free under the same license. The webpage also specifies that GPL covered works can only be distributed as a whole under appropriate GPL versions, and dynamic linking does not affect the outcome of the analysis. Lastly, it notes that copyright holders can explicitly authorize additional uses of their work. This is not exactly very helpful. By Richard Stallman, 9 years ago. This article explains some issues about the meaning and enforcement of the GPL. The specific occasion for this article is the violation of combining Linux with ZFS, and that concerns specifically GNU GPL version 2. However, most of the points apply to all versions of the GNU GPL as well. While stating our understanding of the meaning of the license that we publish, we must point out that this is not legal advice. Interesting. This is not legal advice. In January 2005, we added to our license list a statement explaining the common development and distribution license is incompatible with all versions of the GPL. We explained that a module covered by the GPL and module covered by CDDL cannot legally be linked together, and we urge developers not to use CDDL for this reason. While the CDDL is not commonly used, it is the license for distributing ZFS, a file system developed by Sun for Solaris, but since then there have been projects to make it work as module with other operating system kernels. Attempts to combine ZFS with Linux run headlong into the incompatibility of these two licenses, copyleft and augmented versions. Changing a free program often involves altering the pre-existing code of the program, but sometimes the change consists purely of adding new modules. The added modules do not have to be written specifically for this use. They may include code obtained from other developers. We can call versions made purely by adding modules augmented versions to distinguish them from other kinds of changes. Changed versions of the program require permission under the copyright of the original program. The crucial question for a free software license is what it requires about the licensing of augmented version. Lax permissive licenses, including the XPath license, the X11 license, and the Apache license, permit augmented version of the program to be non-free. Per file copyleft licenses, such as Mozilla public license, likewise permit this. The result is that any intermediary can straightforwardly convert the program into non-free software simply by augmenting it. A copyleft license, including any version of the GPL, requires augmented versions to be free under the same license. This same requirement it applies to modification of the code. Privately, you can do as you like. The GPL has no substantive requirements about what you do in private. The GPL conditions apply when you make the work available to others. So, if you didn't know, you can download a GPL license and do whatever you want with it, combine it with whatever other software you want, as long as you don't share it around in this state, it is perfectly fine. Distribution of augmented works as source code. The GNU GPL in any version permits redistribution only in the form of works licensed under the same version of GPL. Distribution of augmented works in binary, non-source. The only permissible way to make available a binary work that includes the GPL material is under the GPL. The GPL's licensing requirement for this binary form is fundamentally dependent on the requirements for the same work's source under the GPL. Thus, you can comply with the GPL for a binary only by licensing the entire work, both binary version and the complete corresponding source version under the GPL. This is how the fundamental point of copyleft applies to binaries. Code under GPL incompatible license cannot be added, neither in source non-binary form, without violating the GPL. What constitutes the entire work? One common way of combining programs is to link them so that one program can use routines from another. Developers typically talk about static linking when code from various source programs are copied together into combined executable, which is then made available to users. And dynamic linking, when the one program isn't linked to another until the two are executed together on a user system. With static linking, it is self-evident that the code is a part of the source code for the entire program. It includes at least the source code for all modules linked together in the binary. Right. So for those of you non-programmers, what this means, static linking is basically when you use the, let's say you're programming in C language and you use some libraries in your program and you link them statically. This means that the compiler is going to use the source code of the library which you didn't make, but you are using with your program in order to make your program functional. When you compile your source code statically, you get a binary that by itself combines both your source code and the source code of the initial library that you have used for your program. If you compile it dynamically, this means that you have to distribute both your binary program to the end user and the binary of the library that you are linking against. So this is dynamic linking. You have to provide both of these things, otherwise your program will not run. And on one of our previous sessions on Sunday, we have learned about this by using the program LDD. So when you run LDD on a binary, it will tell you against which dynamic libraries this program has been compiled against. Thank you, Amir, for tu Nemačka marka. Jazz by Jerko. Thank you very, very much for tu marka. I need more drinks. Živio, Amire. Developers often find this point not quite so self-evident with dynamic linking, but the situation is equally clear. If you distribute modules meant to be linked together by the user, you have made them into a combined work, and you must release the entire combined work under the GPL. In other words, dynamic versus static linking never makes any difference on the outcome of the analysis, and analysis being behind this clickable link. The Free Software Foundation has been advised by several US lawyers on this matter over the years, and the answer is always this one. Unsurprisingly, some lawyers have been willing to defend a different interpretation when it suits their clients, but their arguments are weak and disputed by the majority of experts. Suits their clients. I smell Ubuntu here, but I'm not sure. Copyright holders can explicitly authorize additional uses. In legal terms, releasing a work under the GPL or any other free license, it is a statement by the copyright holders authorizing users to do certain things. Likewise, the copyright holders of ZFS can give permissions to use it under the GNU GPL version 2 or later, in addition to any other license. This would make it possible to combine that version with Linux without violating the license of Linux. This would be the ideal resolution, and we urge the copyright holders of ZFS to do so. I suppose they haven't done this just yet. From time to time, we have concluded that some condition in the GPL is too strict, that its wording rules out some manner of use which morally ought to be allowed. In terms of users' freedom, often this is due to a change in the technological context. For instance, in 91, we found that some of the systems, the C library on Sun OS was distributed not with the kernel and the bulk of the system, but rather with the C compiler. So they wrote a new license. And then there was a new license. So at this point, if we want ZFS to be completely legally distributed with Linux, we need to reinvent GPL version 4, and Linux needs to adopt GPL version 4. But however, Linux will never adopt GPL version 4 because GPL version 4 will be probably just as restrictive as version 3, and Linux does not want to be restricted as the GPL version 3 is restricted. So the only possible resolution clearly is what Stallman says, is that the ZFS license holders write into their license that it can be combined with GPL. GPL enforcement for Linux. The Free Software Foundation plays no part in the development of Linux. When you say Linux, I assume you mean the kernel. Yeah, when anyone says Linux, usually they should mean the kernel, because GNOME is not Linux. KD Plasma is not Linux. SysWin is not Linux. Systemd is not Linux. GNU is not Linux. Linux is only the kernel. Linux is licensed under GPL version 2. Jeremy with a rather good joke. Yeah, GPL version 2. Linus Torvalds once said that Stallman is out of his mind with the new restrictions in GPL version 3, and that he will not participate in this craziness of his, and that GPL version 3 is way too restrictive. What we developed is the GNU operating system, which is the usual context in which Linux is used on desktop, laptop, or server computers. The Free Software Foundation is not a copyright holder of Linux, except for small pieces copied from programs which we released under the lesser GPL or GPL plus exceptions, and perhaps an obscure processor port. We do not presume on the strength of these pieces of code to tell the developers of Linux proper how to approach GPL enforcement for Linux, and we won't advocate a choice as if we had a say. However, we enthusiastically encourage enforcement of the GPL on Linux in accord with the principles of community-oriented GPL enforcement, and we wish the enforcers success in bringing violators into compliance, thus maintaining the GPL's integrity so it can defend users' freedom. Boy, this was a hard text to read. Basically, what Free Software Foundation is saying is that their interpretation, along with some lawyers in the United States that they hired, have concluded that CDDL cannot be combined with GPL, and that is about it. But they have no right to enforce anything in regards to Linux because they haven't made Linux. So they are simply advising whoever holds the the license over the Linux to be as strict as possible and not allow ZFS into Linux, basically. They they didn't say that they don't want ZFS in Linux. I would argue that they do want the Free Software Foundation, but the reason why they don't want it in Linux is because they want their GPL license to actually mean something. Voila, I think we are done. So, what do you think? We are down to only Iceblade and Jeremy, and maybe 2 more viewers, I think. Anyways, I am about to end the stream. I'm starving. I want to eat something. And how long have I been online? Almost 3 hours. So this is good. This is good timing for reading about licenses. Iceblade, I'm leaving this video on demand for you to listen to the beginning of it, right? All about GPL version 3. And I'm saying goodbye to everyone else who is still in the chat. Jeremy is here. Yeah, I should go get some fish and chips and pint or off 3. Okay. Good to have some contents for licenses. Yeah. Licenses are interesting. Yeah. Anyways, thank you very much for hanging out today, and I'm going to publish an announcement for tomorrow's stream, and I'm going to see you in roughly 23 hours. Have a nice day.